What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Ben Talk Sports Show here with Ben Hall. Here in today's video, I'll be breaking down why I believe the Miami Hurricanes will be going to the college football playoff this season. Before we get into the video, subscribe to the channel. It's a new channel. I had an old one, but I didn't post a ton on there. Do plan on posting a lot on here, a ton of college football content, sports betting content, and anything you guys ask for in the comments. I plan to break down a ton of college football games, matchups, give some predictions, and a bunch of stuff like that. So please subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And then on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, follow me at BH Journalist. I post a lot of stuff on there. That's where I'm most active. College football, all sports really, whatever you guys are looking for, and then a ton of sports betting stuff. So follow me on there. Now jumping into the video, start with the head coach, Mario Cristobal. There's a ton of pressure on Cristobal this season. Comes over from Oregon 2 years back and just hasn't lived up to the expectations that were set of him. At Oregon was very successful, had a bunch of good seasons there, never made the college football playoff, but was good enough to get a big contract from Miami and return home and just hasn't lived up to the expectations. But he knows the pressure's on. He went out in the portal and added exactly what he needed to for this team to be successful this season. Starting with the quarterback, you lose Tyler Van Dyke, and it was time. Every single season, it felt like Van Dyke was promising and he was developing and he was ready to take that next step, but just could never do it. Threw too many interceptions and just had too many struggles. Wasn't it for him. And they decided to move on. And they went and got Cam Ward, who threw for 3,735 passing yards at Washington State last year, which was 8th in the country, 25 touchdowns, which was tied for 19th in the country. This was what they needed to do. Cam Ward was the best quarterback in the portal, in my opinion. And this was exactly the fit for them. I mean, Cam Ward is going to be a pro. He's a really good quarterback, and he actually was thinking about going to the NFL draft before deciding ultimately to stay in the portal and chose Miami. Got a ton of money to go to Miami, and he deserved it. He did have some issues fumbling the ball, and it needs to improve. Fumbled 11 times last year and lost 7. And they're not all like, he had an awful offensive line. He was sacked a ton and didn't have good weapons. The situation at Washington State just wasn't great. There's no way around it. But all of the fumbles weren't on the offensive line and guys not getting open. Held the ball low. That led to a lot of fumbles. Tried to create nothing a lot, and it led to fumbles. So he needs to improve there. But when you look at what he has now, the confidence is up. I think Cam Ward will improve. He knows he needs to. And regardless, this is a massive upgrade from Tyler Van Dyke. I mean, in the last 2 years, Miami went 5-7 in the first under Cristobal and 7-6 last year and lost in the Pinstripe Bowl. So not really a year that fits Miami standard. When you think about Miami, you think about an elite program, and they ran Manny Diaz out of Miami because he wasn't living up to expectations. And that's a fact. But Manny Diaz was more successful than Cristobal has been. So Miami needs more, and it starts with the quarterback position, and Cam Ward is the guy. There's a ton of hype around him, and there should be. And something I didn't even touch on yet, his leadership ability. When you ask anybody around the program what stands out about Ward, away from the talent, it's his ability to lead and how confident he is and how he's always taking on that leadership role. And that's exactly what Miami needs from him this season. Then you move to the running back position. Damien Martinez, the transfer from Oregon State. He was incredible last year. Rushed for 1,185 yards, which was 24th most in the country. Had averaged 6.1 yards per carry. Miami hasn't had a running back rush for 1,000 yards since 2016. He wasn't overly used at Oregon State. He had 194 carries. And when you look at the rushing yard leaders, Martinez is one of the only guys with less than 200 carries in the top 25. That's pretty impressive. Then you get back to Cam Ward. Washington State had an awful run game. So adding Damien Martinez to combine with Cam Ward, that should open up everything for Ward and Martinez. It's pick your poison with both guys. Last season, Nakia Watson was the leading rusher at Washington State with 321 yards. This is brand new to Cam Ward. He's going to be playing with a brand new system, but everything has improved for him. And we'll get to more of the offensive line receivers in a second. But Damien Martinez is a guy that defenses fear. And in an ACC, I think he'll have a ton of success. He's fresh. He's healthy. Miami needed this. They went out and got him late in the portal to add to Cam Ward. That's just an amazing 1-2 punch in the backfield. And then Mark Fletcher, hopefully he's healthy. He was the number 6 running back in the 2023 class. Little banged up, but he should add some, and they should give him a few weeks and let him get healthy. But Damien Martinez will be the lead back, and I think he's going to have a big year. Getting to the receivers, Xavier Restrepo, Jacoby George, Samuel Brown, Isaiah Horton, all of those guys. Starts with Restrepo. He set the single-season reception record at Miami last season, 85 receptions for 1,092 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's one of the most polished slot wide receivers in college football. Every report out of Miami camp has said that Restrepo and Ward, their connection has been great. It's been way better than many thought. Obviously, your 2 new guys never played together, but everything that's come out of camp has said those 2 dudes have been connected, and they're expecting another breakout year from Restrepo. Then you get to Jacoby George, 57 receptions for 864 yards and 8 touchdowns last year, combined for 20 catches and 315 yards the year before. So he took a big step forward last year. He needs to stay out of trouble. He was arrested. He had a lot of undisciplined penalties on the field last season, and Miami was pretty frustrated with him, but the coaching staff decided to stick with him, and they believe that George could take a massive step forward for them this season and be a great 2 or 3. Because then you look at the next guy, and another portal ad they had, Samuel Brown, 62 receptions for 815 yards and 3 touchdowns at Houston. Number 1 wide receiver portal ad. So you look at Cam Ward, top quarterback. You look at Damien Martinez, one of the top running backs. And then you look at Samuel Brown, one of the top receivers. He's a great route runner, speedy receiver. Everything looked good in this ad. So the weapons right now, when you look at it, Miami has one of the best weapon sets in college football. And I know you got to see it, and it's got to connect when games start. But all the reports out of camp are saying these guys are looking great, and these guys are looking like what Miami expected them to be, and then some. Exactly what you want to hear. And then you look at Isaiah Horton. That's a guy you hope takes a step forward in year 2. He'll rotate in. I don't think he'll have a massive role in the offense, but he will play a little bit of a part. He'll rotate in, like I said, be the 4th receiver, should play a little bit of a role in the offense. Then you get to the tight end, Elijah Arroyo. He's missed a ton of games through his career with injury, caught 1 pass for 11 yards last year in like 6 games, but a lot of people are expecting a breakout year from him this season. Cam Ward's the best quarterback he'll ever play with in his career, to this point at least. And you hope that he can give you a little bit of stuff. Cam Ward didn't rely on the tight end a ton at Washington State. It'll be interesting to see what he does, but it'll be nice if Miami could get a little bit more out of Arroyo than they have in the past. Now to the offensive line. Left tackle is expected to be Jalen Rivers. Right tackle is expected to be Francis Mauigoa. Rivers and Mauigoa, I mean, those are 2 extremely good tackles. Mauigoa has been moved around, they've said. He's played some center, he's played some guard in camp, but I fully expect him to be the right tackle this season. He was a freshman All-American last year, and he's expected to take a big step forward as one of the elite tackles in college football this season to me. And Rivers is solid. Rivers, you know what you're going to get from him. He's got a ton of experience, and you trust him protecting Cam Ward's blind side. You do. Getting into the inside on the offensive line, Samson Okunlola is expected to be the left guard. Zach Carpenter is expected to be the center, and Inez Cooper is expected to be the right guard. Carpenter at center is a transfer from Indiana, started for multiple years at Indiana, and he's in his 6th college football season. You got to love having that, a guy in the Big Ten where the games are won in the trenches, and he started at center a ton of years. He's in his 6th year. I have no concern with what Miami's doing at center, and I think Zach Carpenter will be one of the top centers in the ACC. 6th season, massive ad for them. And then you look at Inez Cooper. A lot of people view him as an NFL prospect. He's solid. He won't hurt you. Cam Ward will have the best offensive line he's ever had in his college career. Obviously, at Incarnate, Ward didn't have a great offensive line. Washington State, awful offensive line. They were one of the worst offensive lines in the Pac-12, and Cam Ward still managed to make plays with them. Now you go to Miami, where you're going to have one of the best offensive lines in college football in the ACC. That's awesome for them. Now looking at the defensive side of the football, the interior defensive line is brand new. They completely revamped. You bring in Simeon Barrow Jr. from Michigan State, CJ Clark from NC State, and Marley Cook from Middle Tennessee State. These guys have a combined 243 tackles, 45 tackles for loss, and 25 sacks in over 125 games of experience. So you're bringing in guys, this isn't like freshman phenoms. They're bringing in guys with experience and guys that they believe can dominate in the ACC. Michigan State transfer, Barrow was very good. A lot of schools were after him. He commits to Miami. Then there was some concern he might go somewhere else, but ends up sticking with Miami. That's massive. CJ Clark has already showed he can play in the ACC. And then Marley Cook is a guy who dominated in the group of 5. I think this is awesome for them. I really like what they did there. And then you go to the defensive end position. Ruben Bain and Elijah Alston are the guys. Bain was a rookie defensive player in the ACC last season. He'll be one of the best pass rushers in all of college football this season, in my opinion. That's great. Bringing him back, Miami has a true pass rusher in Bain, and this is a guy, one of Cristobal's best recruits so far, to put it on the field. I think Bain's going to be great this year, and I think he'll be one of the best edge rushers in all of college football, let alone in the ACC. Then you look at Elijah Alston. He's an experienced transfer from Marshall. He was well sought after, ends up choosing Miami. You hope to get good production out of him. It'll be interesting to see how he plays in Miami, but you at least have one awesome pass rusher in Bain, and Alston projects well. A lot of schools wanted him. He'll be the starter, and you're hoping he can give you good snaps. Now getting into the linebacker position, Francis Mauigoa, Wesley Bassett, and Jalen Alderman. Mauigoa is one of my favorite linebackers in college football. He's the leader of this defense, or one of. Led the team last season with 18 tackles for loss, and he's a dog. To me, he'll be a day 2 or early day 3 NFL draft pick next year. He's the brother of Francis Mauigoa, the right tackle, freshman All-American. So it runs in the blood, great football players, and Francisco Mauigoa, you will have one of the best linebackers in the ACC, if not the best. Bassett is a guy that he's very athletic. He can tackle. He can make some plays. But Alderman is really the other linebacker I'm looking forward to watching. Big transfer from Louisville. He's a versatile player that can rotate and give Miami different looks, and he should be used in a bunch of different ways. I think he hasn't really made a ton of noise at camp from what I've heard and what I've seen, but I think Alderman in game will turn heads, and he'll be great for Miami. So when you look at those 3 linebackers, Miami is set at the linebacker position. Now getting into the secondary, at corner, Damari Brown and Daryl Porter Jr. will be your starters this year. Brown was one of Miami's top recruits in 2023, and he played decent in some opportunities last season. Started a few games, didn't start every game, wasn't a regular, but he was on the field a lot, and I liked what I saw from him. Porter is actually one of the more underrated players in the defense. He was one of their best guys in coverage last season. He can finish tackles. This is a dude that I think takes another step this season and is one of the elite corners in the ACC. Getting to the safety position. One safety you have in Mish Powell. He is a dog. He'll be one of the leaders on the defense. He's another versatile guy. He'll do whatever is needed for him, for this team to win. The transfer from Washington. I love what they have in him. And then you'll have Jaden Harris probably as the other safety. It'll be a question mark. That is one area of concern for Miami, but I think they'll figure it out. Harris hopefully will be able to fill the void, and they can get good play out of him because obviously you lost a ton in the safety last season. Now getting into Miami's schedule, and a big reason why I like them to win this year, they don't have an extremely tough schedule. When you look at it top to bottom, start at Florida. I like them to beat Florida. Billy Napier is not it for Florida. I think this will be his last season there. And Miami just has the better roster all around. Cristobal's got to figure it out, and I talked about it earlier. Cristobal has been disappointing, but I think this is his year. At Florida, I like them to win. Florida A&M, Ball State, South Florida. South Florida's pretty tough out of conference at South Florida, but I still don't see them losing any of those 3. That would be 4-0. And then you get into ACC play. You have Virginia Tech, at Cal, at Louisville, home versus Florida State, home versus Duke, at Georgia Tech, home versus Wake Forest, and then at Syracuse to round off the trip. Cal, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse should all be guaranteed wins. So then you get into the other few games. And Cal, I know they have Jaden Ott. He's awesome. He's a great player. He's not carrying Cal to a win over Miami. I just don't see it. At Louisville, home versus Virginia Tech, home versus Florida State. Those are the 3 question marks on their schedule to a lot of people. I don't see them losing at home to Virginia Tech. I know all the hype is coming out of Virginia Tech, and I think they'll be good this year. They should win 8 to 9 games, but I don't see them beating Miami. Miami is the better team all around. Virginia Tech might be better coached, but Cristobal has got to figure it out. This has to be his year. You can't lose at home to Virginia Tech. At Louisville will be a question mark. It will be a tough game, but they still have the better roster. Louisville is filled with transfer portal guys as well. I like Miami to take them down at Louisville. Then you go to the Florida State game. This is the one loss that I do have on Miami's schedule this year. And even then, they could beat Florida State. You're at home playing at Hard Rock. That makes you feel good. I think Florida State has a better defense. DJ Uiagalelei has to show you something. He's a guy that throughout his college career hasn't been overly impressive. But Miami comes right now into the season as a 1.5-point favorite over Florida State in that game. And home field plays a role in that. We'll see as the season goes on what the difference is. But Miami could lose one game to me this year, and they'll be in the college football playoff. This is their loss to me. But I do think Miami gets into the college football playoff this season. Mario Cristobal has to take that step this year. I talked about it. 5-7 in year one at Miami. Fans were frustrated. 7-6 last year. Fans were still not happy. This year, you go out in the transfer portal. You finally move on at quarterback and improve. You get a great running back. You need to have a 1,000-yard season from your running back. I think Martinez gives you that. I love Miami this season. Cam Ward, best quarterback they've had in a long time. This is the year for Miami football. They're back. I like them making the college football playoff, and I like them quieting a lot of people. Mark it down now. Miami to make the college football playoff. That is it for this video. I appreciate everybody tuning in and watching as long as you did. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Leave a like, leave a comment. What do you guys think Miami football will be this year? And any other comments on what videos you also want to see me make, any opinions, questions, anything you guys have, leave in the comments, please. Follow me on Twitter, as I said at the beginning of the video, at BHJournalist, Twitter, X, whatever you refer to it as. And yeah, appreciate you guys watching. Be back soon here on Ben Talk Sports Show.